Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to the rabbit hole.
I'm Connie.
And we just want to go ahead and start off by shouting out all of our amazing listeners. Thank you for being part of the rabbit hole and joining us on these adventures. We really appreciate not talking into the thin air and love that you enjoy it too.
Absolutely. And don't be shy. Let us know what you want to have us talk about because, we could probably find endless things to talk about, but what do you want us to talk about?
Drop it in the comments so that we know and we can come up with cool new things. But on today's call, we have a very important question, one that has plagued us for generations. And that question is, do vampires live amongst us? And when did they become sexy?
Yes. When indeed did that happen? I don't know about your research that you did this week, but I got a couple of pretty gnarly vampires, you know? They're definitely not the sparkly ones or Damon and Stefan Salvatore.
So you're definitely starting off tackling the end part of this question, which is when did they become sexy?
Yeah, like when did that happen?
Yeah,
Honestly.
I don't know when the turning point was, that's for sure, but I can tell you that I've watched Underworld, I've watched a lot of the Twilight series, of course. So I know of the sexy vampires. I don't think in my lifetime I have known a not sexy vampire. So I would love to hear what you have to say on that.
So let me start at the very beginning because I think this is kind of important. So the OG vampire is Count Orlok. Have you heard of Count
Really?
Orlok? Hmm. Yeah.
I have heard of Count Warlock, but I thought it was Nosferatu.
So I think the movie is called Nosferatu, but Count Orlok is the vampire. It's kind of hard to tell because it's a silent film, but so
Okay.
far from what I've watched out of it is very entertaining. The first horror film to kind of set the tone for all other horror films, loosely based off of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's got music to it, right? I'll show you a clip here in a second. It has Victorian Gothic, I don't know, just the feel, the vibe, the clothing, everything about it. It looks like that period in time, even though it was like 20 years after, technically after the Victorian era ended. I think probably what makes it kind of spooky, even now, or eerie, is the shadows, the shadows that the hands make of Count Orlok, even the atmosphere, some of the countryside, the shots, the angles, all of that kind of stuff. Even just the way that Count Orlok moves is all kind of creepy. I did watch part of the silent film. I think it's one of my dad's favorites just because my daughter and I went to, the Museum of the Weird in Austin, Texas, and we were taking pictures of these wax figures, and Count Orlok was one of them, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I like that guy." So,
Oh my
anyways,
gosh. Well, that's really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you a little bit of this, clip, but the scene I'm about to show you is to set it up, in the very beginning, there's this banker guy and this other guy, and they're talking about, "Yes, Count Orlok, he wants to move to our village or countryside. You need to go get him. He can live in the house across from yours. We're gonna make so much money." And so he sends the guy off, like, I think on horseback or something, travel to find Count Orlok, and he makes it to the town where Count Orlok is, and this guy right here, he's telling the other guy, "Don't go find him. It's too late. It's dark outside, and there are werewolves amongst us."
Yeah.
The werewolf roams the woods, and he's like, "Ah, okay, whatever, whatever." Shortly after, it pans to said werewolf. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Did
That
you get
looks
a good
like a
look at
coyote.
it? It was a hyena.
Stop it. Oh my god, that's pretty cool.
It's a hyena. I know, but, like, back in the day, they're like, "Oh, yeah,
Oh, I
werewolf
like this
definitely looks like a
genre.
hyena."
I love this dramatic music playing.
Yeah, I know, look how, like, old-timey this all looks, and he's gotten to his suite, and shortly after he starts getting ready for bed, he finds this book, and it says all this weird stuff about vampires and blood, and kinda laughs it off. You know, it's kinda setting the tone for the rest of the movie, like, right before he meets, Count Orlok, who's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come to your village. It'll be amazing." So,
Have you
anyways,
watched this full movie?
I have not watched the full movie, I'll be completely honest. I want to, though. I messaged my dad, I was like, "You know, for a silent film, this is actually pretty entertaining."
I mean, it sounds really interesting. I think you definitely have me intrigued, but that's definitely as far as like sexiness goes, I'm gonna go ahead and rate him a -4.
Yeah, so that this part of the movie that I just showed you, like, definitely he hasn't come onto screen yet, but I know I've sent you pictures of him with his claws and, like, he's just this gawky, tall figure. There's no way this guy is even remotely sexy at all.
So let me tell you a little bit about the story that I understand about the horror era. So that took place in 1922, which is Nosferatu. And it was, like you mentioned, a little creepy little thing, like a little rat like corpse with talon fingers and all that stuff. Then in 1931, we get Dracula. And this is where everything changed. Apparently, the Dracula arrives in a tuxedo, speaking in a Hungarian accent, that woman wrote fan letters about. So that was a really, really big thing. So I think that that might have been the turning point is in 1931 with Dracula. So the information that I found was that 90% of the fan mail that was received from this came straight from women just raving about that and how he used hypnosis, charm, and power, not claws, to tame his victims. So that's the whole seduction piece, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the Hungarian culture because the research that I did, you know, also pointed to Dracula or vampires were a Slavic monster from Eastern Europe, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, like the Balkan countries. However, before then, I think this is that's the vampire that we know, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, there are different forms of vampires that have originated across all different times, all different cultures. The one that we know is that one that came from Eastern Europe in the 1700s had spread all across Europe by that point in time.
With that, the question that I kind of want to bring is why we switched it over from being this creepy little thing to now a sexy person. And more importantly, understanding that vampires suck your blood so that you can turn into them. What does that say about women and what we want to see in our partners that turned the vampires into sexy things? I That's the question I have.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking back. I know I've got like I think 10 years on you. The first vampire that I remember was in the 80s and it was a Halloween special on TV. So there's a vampire, the witch, the werewolf, and,
What
Frankenstein, and they're
what show
all the
is this?
monsters. Huh?
What show is this?
So it's called The Halloween That Almost Wasn't,
Okay.
and I'm gonna show you. I'm, like, excited. You're, like, giddy.
No, please do. Be excited, I love it.
Yeah, the night that Dracula saved the world is the
Stop it,
Halloween that almost wasn't.
is that where that music comes from?
I mean, not specifically from this show, but, you know. So here's Dracula. He doesn't look too bad to me. I don't know if he's like super handsome, but you know. And here's Igor, his sidekick, I think.
Why are the sidekick kicks always hunchbacked? These are the questions I wanna know. Ooh. Yeah, I would say that man is sexy.
Yeah. Anyways, this was like a movie that I actually have it on VHS, and even my daughter knows this movie because we would watch it when she was little too.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know, but this is like my first recollection of a vampire, right? And basically, the shtick in here is like the witch is so tired of being a witch because nobody likes her because she's old and ugly. But if she doesn't fly over the moon for Halloween, then Halloween is ruined. So he's got to kind of talk her back into riding over the moon, right? On her broom.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
So very interesting. I mean, I think that
definitely worth the watch.
yes. So what do you think that is as far as why we see vampires as sexy?
Well, you know, I know the lore behind it within some of the vampire movies, you
Mhm.
know, that they're supposed to be, I don't know, something about them lures us to them. right, to the vampires. So that probably has evolved to like, I don't know, over time is what I'm guessing to like, oh, I'm
Well, and
drawn to this vampire.
I think that that's where, as I understood vampires to be, is that vampires hunted.
Right.
So if they hunt, it's not like they're luring us.
I mean, okay, so I'm thinking of hiding out in alleyways is probably like hunting, right? We go back to the New Orleans vampires, Interview with the Vampire, right?
Okay.
They're kind of like skulking around in alleyways sometimes, but also other times they're having like parties in their plantation, everyone's drinking wine, and then at the end of the night, like they're eating somebody, right? So
They eat somebody for the dirt at
right.
the end of the night.
I think probably it's evolved. Even Anne Rice, who wrote those books, I mean, she knew how to write it to make them sound like they were irresistible and alluring and just kind of, you're drawn to them because maybe they're different, right?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Because they're different.
So you've seen that movie, right? Or read the book maybe?
Which one?
Interview with the Vampire?
I actually have not.
Okay, there's one part in the plantation where Brad Pitt,
Mm.
he was the
You should have
master.
started at Brad Pitt.
Oh, I see, that's it right there, right? Brad Pitt. Yeah. So he was, like, the master of the plantation, and Tom Cruise turned him into a vampire because he was lonely and needed, like, a sidekick. Here we're
Mhm.
again, like, the sidekicks, right? But he didn't want to be a vampire, um, and so instead of eating people, he would be eating rats and just leaving the carcasses, and then his slaves in the plantation, like, they all knew something was wrong with him and they were scared of him. But yeah, guess they were smarter than, the white people. So they're like, we already know this kind of magic from back in Africa. You can't fool us. But
I think, yeah, that's, Tom Cruise. So the dynamic between them was intimate, codependent, and underwhelmingly queer-coded. The film pushed vampire fiction into explicitly romantic male intimacy while asking, "What do you do with immortality when the meaning of
mhm.
life keeps dying around you?"
Well, and you know what's really creepy? So along with them wanting to have companionship,
Mhm,
they found, like, during the plague times, they found a girl that was dying, and they turned her, or I should say, Tom Cruise, I think, turned her into a vampire, but she was, like, 8 or 9 years old, and
mhm.
so, of course, like, she's stuck being 8 or 9 years old,
Oh,
and
shit.
she yeah, like, at first, like, she's like, "This is great," but then she never ages, and she like, there's a scene where she keeps trying to chop her hair off, but it keeps growing back, and she still looks like a little girl even though she's older, but, like, I think
Oh,
Tom
you
Cruise
know what? I
is
never thought about that. That's has to be really shitty.
yeah,
If you become
yeah,
a
but
vampire and you're a child?
yeah, and I think it was Tom Cruise is like, "Oh,
Well,
Brad needs a child. He feels bad because he didn't have kids." Well, here's a kid that's never gonna age, and he didn't think about the repercussions, right? So,
and that's interesting, because do their minds age?
I would think so, yeah,
Okay.
because again, like, after so many years, like, she was just pissed off that she wasn't getting any older, like, nothing about her would change no matter what she did,
Ugh.
so and then I think, like, she took a mother, like, they made somebody into her mom, so
So, now the big question that I had was regarding vampires was, do you think that they walk amongst us? Do you think that vampires exist?
what do you think?
Girl, don't get me started here.
I have a ton of stuff about New Orleans, like
Okay.
yeah,
So you let me know. I have 2 case studies that I'd like to go ahead and
case
dive
studies, rip
into.
them out, girl. Woo.
So let's go ahead and start off with the one and only Keanu Reeves, who's been suspected to be alive since 742 AD. So the first known sighting was of Keanu Reeves as a person called Charlemagne. So they're
Okay,
medieval portraits of Charlemagne, the king of the Franks and founder of the Holy Roman Empire, that show a tall man with dark hair, a strong jaw, and what can only be described as contemplative and vaguely melancholic expression. Does that sound familiar to you? He's known to be a lot like Keanu Reeves. It's uncanny, I think, but he just never ages. All he does is grow facial hair. It's impressive.
yeah. Well, that I mean, that could also be well, I don't wanna stereotype, I'm not gonna say it, never mind. Never mind.
What is it?
Okay, so Asian men don't have I mean, they still can have facial hair, but not definitely not like, lumberjack people, you know what I mean? Like
Is Keanu Reeves even
anyway.
Asian?
Yeah, I think he's, like, Japanese or
He
something,
he is English, Native Hawaiian, Chinese, and Portuguese. His mother is from Essex, and his father is Native Hawaiian.
which has Japanese roots in it. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I
So
wouldn't
kind of in
say
a roundabout way, but not officially. Yeah.
yeah, but alright. So, still, I think that he only grows facial hair. So a portrait attributed to the Renaissance painter Parmigiano depicts a young man with a dark hair. Don't laugh at me.
Okay.
Defined
Parmigiano?
cheekbones. Yeah, I don't know why that took me so long to read. Dark hair, defined cheekbones, and an expression that art historians officially describe as the unknown subject. The internet describes it as Keanu Reeves.
Okay. Okay.
So that's
I
number
mean, he
2.
has aged very well, you know? I'll say
Okay.
that much. So, yeah.
Alright, that's fine. Then it turns out that he was born again with a second identity as Paul Monet, a French actor that was born in 1847 who bears what investigators describe as an almost identical resemblance to modern day Keanu. So let's go ahead and look up Paul
Hmm.
Monet, for example. Part of this explains of his suspicious circumstances around his death. So he died of heart failure in 1922. However, his body was never recovered.
Mm.
No confirmed remains, no verified burial, just gone. So the internet conclusion is really straightforward. It's that he didn't die. He obviously relocated.
Hmm.
Then in 1964, that's when he was born as Keanu Reeves.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So that's what I have on Keanu Reeves.
So that sounds really similar to one of the vampires in New Orleans. The most famous vampire in New Orleans was the Comte de Saint-Germain, and he was a French alchemist in the 18th century, claimed to have the elixir of life. So he was going around telling people he was like 6,000 years old, spoke 10 languages, always fun at parties. People liked him because he was a good storyteller. Same, me too. It was said that he died in Hamburg, Germany, but then he was seen 8 years later at the beheading of Marie Antoinette.
I mean, can't miss that.
Right, that's a notable time and but yes, I guess some lady said that she saw him in the crowd, which weird. But then in 1902, here comes a guy also in New Orleans, some mysterious man, and his name was Jacques Saint-Germain. So kind of like the same name, right? The first was Comte Saint-Germain, and then this is Jacques Saint-Germain. He said that he was a descendant and also spoke many languages, very smart, fun at parties again, ladies' man, but everything kind of came to a halt once one of his ladies threw herself out the window and was screaming that he was trying to like rip her throat open. And when the police came back to his house, he was gone, but they found a bunch of wine bottles full of blood.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's sus.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me tell you about another one. And this one is like
Okay.
very interesting to me. It's about the one and only Anne Hathaway.
Oh,
So,
okay.
evidence suggests that Anne Hathaway has actually lived continuously since at least 1582, spending about 400 years conducting rituals so that she can relocate her reincarnated husband, successfully finding him in a film festival in 2008. And since then,
Is that
she's
her
been
husband now?
yes. So here is the
Oh, okay.
creepy stuff, all right? Let me show you. So let's walk this through. In 1582, that's where her first known identity was Anne Hathaway of Shottery. The original
Oh,
Anne Hathaway married an 18-year-old William Shakespeare in November of 1582 when she was 26
stop
years
it.
old. Listen,
It was a
notably,
Romeo and Juliet.
yeah, notably older than her husband and financially independent, she was the one that pursued him. They had 3 children together,
Okay.
and Shakespeare spent most of their marriage working in London far away from her. Scholars have debated for centuries like why he left, but the more interesting question is what was she doing while he was gone? So there's no portraits of her, there's no confirmed record of her death, just Shakespeare's wife. So it seems like we forgot about her. So Shakespeare writes the most suspicious sentence in history. Life is too short to love you in one. I promise to look for you in the next life.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I have a question really quick.
Okay.
It's really too bad that there were no pictures or like paintings of
So
her
there
because
are, and they look the same.
well, that was gonna be my point, like, she has a very distinct face. There's some celebrities that look kind of alike, right? Nobody looks like her. Like, nobody at all. You can't be like, "Oh, yeah, she looks like this person." Like, she just doesn't. She's very unique features. Her eyes are very prominent. She's got these luscious lips. I would
Well, and
say guys probably think she's sexy because of all those qualities. Wouldn't you think so?
but I do have to say that 1582 portraits weren't that great. Let me see if I can put this in the chat. Maybe this will work. Okay. So that
You
image
see
right
it?
there looks pretty similar to Anne Hathaway.
The
And
one in the
her
corner
the one to the right.
where her hair is up, like, up kinda poofy
Yes.
in a
Go to
tiara.
images.
Okay.
Yes, go to images and look at that one picture that has the quadrants. Nope.
Okay, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, this one. So is that what they're proposing she's
No, no,
gonna
no.
look like?
Right. This is around the 1600s. And
Okay.
so, and I mentioned the thing about William Shakespeare writing "Life is too short to love you in one. I promise to look for you in the next life." So, investigators present this as their most romantic thing ever written, or as a literal statement of supernatural intent from a man that knew exactly where his wife was and what she was planning. So, he wasn't being poetic; he was making a promise to the vampire who had already told him he'd be waiting. So, he
Yeah.
left his second best bed in his will, and she kept the good one, so she's still using it. 400 years later in 1982, to the day, Anne Jacqueline Hathaway is born.
Mm.
The 400th anniversary of William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway's wedding.
Wow.
Her
So it's
parent
like
yeah, her parents named her Anne, and she was therefore born with the same exact name as Shakespeare's wife on the exact anniversary of their marriage 4 centuries later. So the theory is that she didn't choose to reincarnate as Anne Hathaway, she simply continued to be Anne Hathaway. So that
wow.
wasn't their like, her name wasn't a coincidence, it was just her signature. So then
Mm.
in 2008, in a Palm Springs film festival, Anne Hathaway meets Adam Schulman at the Palm Springs Festival. Upon meeting him, she tells a mutual friend, "I'm going to marry that man." With no hesitation, no courtship, just immediate recognition. And this woman that's been waiting 400 years for a specific soul to reappear recognized him instantly.
Mm.
Shakespeare was also believed to have produced his own theatrical works, and Schulman produced Anne Hathaway's 2014's film Song 1.
Okay. I haven't seen that, but okay.
So, in
Hmm.
2018, apparently, Twitter goes feral. The Schulman Shakespeare evidence goes viral. A Twitter user posted side by side of Adam Schulman and William Shakespeare's portrait. Anne Hathaway is being talked about for her beauty, like you mentioned. But what about the fact that her husband looks very similar to William Shakespeare? And William Shakespeare's wife's name is literally Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. Yeah, they do look very similar. Yeah.
So they have the same eyes, the same jaw, the same kinda, like, weird vibe thing? I don't know.
You know what's weird? So I don't know if you can see this that I clicked on right here,
Yeah?
but, like, their eyes are so black,
They're so
like
soulless. Kinda creepy.
like demons.
A
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah. And then
Mm.
in another thing that's really interesting is, you know how I mentioned that Anne Hathaway was older than William Shakespeare?
Mhm.
She was older by about 2 years. Well, in this relationship, Adam Schulman is 2 years older than Anne Hathaway.
Oh, so it flipped.
So it
Ah.
so here's another piece of evidence. In 2023, so this is super modern, in Drew Barrymore's show, she was actually confronted about this. This is what she responded. It's kind of nuts, right? It would be great if it were true, but even if it's not, it's still kind of great. So that's a very non answer if you ask me.
Okay, I'm looking at a picture of them on the couch, like Drew Barrymore and Anne Hathaway, and behind them is, like, a picture of Shakespeare next to the husband.
I'm
Like,
telling you because they reviewed it. They reviewed it, and then they have
that's
this,
pretty
like
bold.
yeah, and then they have a matching tattoo that says individually we're whole, but together we're more.
Mm,
I don't know.
wow.
So, if we look at Anne Hathaway from 2004, so Princess Diaries to present day, Anne Hathaway literally looks like the same person. She
Yeah,
is officially 42 years old, but she doesn't look 42. She doesn't look 32. She looks literally the same age that she was when she did I don't know, she just doesn't look like she changes. And I haven't seen any
yeah.
pictures of Anne Hathaway as a child.
Hmm, I bet there are some out there. Let me
So
see.
yeah, look at that. A redhead? You're telling me that Anne Hathaway was a redhead. I'm
Yeah,
dead. Nope. Nope. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. This is a lie. This is a lie. But the theory is that Anne Hathaway is the vampire.
yeah, yeah. Hmm,
So, and the last case in point that I'd like to make about vampires living amongst us is that maybe they're not vampires in the traditional sense. Heck, when we talk about, like, as we've talked about this episode about what vampires look like and how they've evolved over time, it sounds like we don't really have a clear cut on what it is that they are. However, I will say that if you've ever talked to somebody and immediately feel drained, or you know of
that's half the
people,
people I work with, man. Holy smokes.
um, those are called energy vampires, and I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
they like how you mentioned, they lure people in. I think that they hunt on empaths. So
Mm,
that's people like you that are empathetic.
yeah,
That want to listen, that want to kind of help as much as they can, and I think that they take advantage of that type of people, and they suck all the energy that you have,
hmm,
and they thrive off of that. I think that people that are narcissistic and have that type of tendency are vampires, and I think that you need to be careful about who you let in your house, who you let in your space, who you let have your energy, because those people will take your energy. And maybe they're not taking your blood, but they're taking your energy. And as you think about putting a welcome mat on your doorstep, maybe think twice. Maybe next time that you say, "Oh, if you need anything, let me know." Maybe don't say anything. It's like,
yeah.
"Hey, I'm available if you have a question that I could clarify."
No, I like that you kind of framed vampires in that sort of way because, maybe they're not real in the sense of they wanna drink our blood and turn us into vampires or be creatures of the night, but maybe it's the whole thing of just humans are they could be nasty and, like you said, just drain your energy, right? Just by being negative all the time or complaining all the time or taking too much of your time. But I think that's a really interesting way to kind of put vampires into a modern day spin, right?
Why why thank you. I think that who knows? Maybe they do suck blood, and I think that I honestly, I think that people like Keanu Reeves and Anne Hathaway, maybe they could be vampires, maybe they can't, but I do think that people that are vampires or actual vampires, if they were a thing, they would probably want to remain as low key as possible.
Yeah,
I don't know if they would want
like the
they
Cullens.
like the Cullens, but like you mentioned, we would want them to, or at least if I was a vampire, like the last thing that I wanna do is struggle. Like, I feel like that's
Yeah,
a first life type of problem. I'm not doing that again. So, if I have a new eternal life, I'm not gonna struggle. I'm not gonna
yeah.
put myself in that situation, and I feel like if I had the tools to be successful and have as many lives as I want, why not be a famous person?
Mm, yeah, that's true. But then again, you're putting yourself in the spotlight, you know?
You are,
So,
but hey,
yeah.
so did like, I think there's also ways of disappearing from the
Yeah.
spotlight. Like, whatever happened to Jamie Lynn Spears?
Oh, I haven't heard of her in a while now, at least a couple of years. A couple of years. It's been because she was on, like, Big Brother or something like that, or she was on some reality show, and then she, like, lost it because it was after the whole Britney stuff came to light, and everybody thought she was evil, but I haven't seen her in a while now.
Exactly, exactly,
Mm,
and there's many
and
other people like that.
well, and then people say, like, "Oh, is Elvis really dead? And maybe his death was faked," you know? Or there's other people like that too, I think.
I could get behind the whole Elvis's death being a setup, mainly because I think that he was really overwhelmed and kind of over it.
Yeah. But think about it, there's so many Elvis impersonators, like, he doesn't even have to, like,
Hide that
hide.
phone. Yeah, you're 1000% right. So it's like it's one of those tricky things.
Yeah. Mm,
I think that you can disappear even if you're famous. So
yeah. There's
case
ways.
in point, vampires do exist.
In one way or another. Yes, I would agree
Yeah.
with that now. Yeah. I'm still laughing about the Jamie Lynn Spears, man. I seriously had not thought of her in forever, so I'm just like, where is she? Because
Maybe
Brittany
she's
got her locked up somewhere. Is she like, "Guess what? You tortured me, and now it's time to torture you." Like, I don't know.
Lord.
But
Well, all right. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We appreciate you. Stay learning, stay curious, stay down the rabbit hole. Come up for air once in a while.
yeah, and, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.